Hello, it is me, Thomas, the most humble YouTuber on your feed at the moment. I'm coming at you wearing a $30,000 Rolex watch. I'm recording this on a $4,000 monitor inside of my $8,000 a month apartment here in London, in the center of London. And I'm also recording this on a $4,000 camera. So it's me, the most humble guy on the planet, two-time uni dropout. Forgot to mention that. And in this video, I'm going to let you know, I'm literally just going to show you all my secrets, and I'm just going to lay it all raw. I'm going to show you how I'm going to build a $100 million SaaS. Okay. Easy tutorial right here. If you don't have the patience to sit through this video, I believe, which is going to be around 10 to 15 minutes long, look, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you're not meant to be that guy, okay?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Now, obviously that was sarcastic. Okay, I just want to make that clear. I'm not that douchey in real life. Now, I've been teasing this for a while that for a long time, I have invested heavily into software developers to build a software company called Dermis. And I think you've probably heard of it at this point. You've heard bits and pieces online, maybe on my Instagram, maybe here on YouTube, where I've just kind of been teasing it a little bit, but I've never actually made a full length video breaking down what it is, why I'm going all in on it, and why I'm so excited about it, why I'm literally horny about this, and it's been consuming my entire thoughts, and it's been making me more excited than really anything else right now, for many different reasons, which I'm going to break down in this video. So I'm here on Miro, and I'm going to kind of do a draw my life here, so that it's not just you watching me talk from this strange angle at the side of my desk. So the year is around 2021. And this is when I had just dropped out of university, and I was going all in on SMMA. You guys know SMMA. For you longtime fans that have been watching my content for a while, you guys know that I have had a marketing agency that serves aesthetic clinics, okay? So clinics that do like Botox, injections. This is supposed to be a needle. And I would basically help these. I've added these are not veins, okay? These are measurement units to make it seem like this is a needle, okay? Okay, now that looks better. So my marketing agency, basically I used to run ads for these Botox clinics, and I would increase their amount of patients. So I would just bring them more patients, and I would charge $2,000 a month for. And this was a great business. It was a great business model, except there was one problem. Actually, there were many problems, but the biggest problem is that while I was making quite a bit of money from this, and it was good income, don't get me wrong, practically all of my clients, and I had around 10 clients, practically all of my clients would leave after 2 to 3 months. So I would get them on a retainer, and I would convince them to pay me $2,000 a month, and they would be happy for the first 2-3 months, but then after that period, they would just stop paying and kind of be like, okay, we don't really need this marketing, which didn't make sense because I was generating them a good return. I was basically guaranteeing them anywhere from 15 to 20 Botox clients, which are very expensive. People that pay for Botox are usually clients that come back and, buy again. So they're worth a lot of money. Their LTV is quite high for these aesthetic clinics, which justifies my $2,000 a month retainer. But then I also learned something very discouraging, which is that, like I said, the average marketing agency actually cannot retain a client more than 2 to 3 months, which basically means that the agency model, while it did teach me a lot and while it did get me out of the mud, it did kind of like get me out of the projects, so to say. It got me off the streets, it got me out off the projects, it got me out of the mud, grinding from the mud. Now we're here. Well, this was a great business model. The problem was that I always knew deep down that this could not be the vehicle that would get me to those millions, right? It wasn't the vehicle that would get me to the actual cheese, if you will. Also, you could argue the fact that with an agency, you are the business. It's also very time intensive. It's very labor intensive. And in a nutshell, it was basically like having a 9 to 5 job, except I had the illusion that I had no boss, but really my boss were my clients. And this is when I had an epiphany. Basically, I had a discovery. And this is the same time I was learning more about business, learning more about what actually makes a successful business. And this is when I learned something really, really important that sort of made me pivot more into the SaaS direction. What I learned is this: client retention is more important than client acquisition. If you look at the best businesses in the world, you will consistently see that they have mastered client retention, and that they've mastered client retention to the point where they don't even need client acquisition. And that the businesses that focus only on client acquisition are consistently always the businesses that are just a pump and dump scheme. They're just a churn and burn business model that never actually grows. Whereas the best businesses focus on client retention. And the way they do that is because they have repeat purchases. So if you look at a business like Coca-Cola, for example, the first time you buy a Coke is usually never the last time. The first time you buy a Coke is like the first time you try drugs. You kind of have to keep buying Cokes from that point forward. So whenever you go to a restaurant, you just order a Coke without even knowing it, meaning their LTV, a Coke client isn't worth like $8. It's worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if you extend how much a client is worth to them over their lifetime. Over someone's lifetime, you would have probably spent maybe $5,000-$10,000 buying Cokes when you really break it down. And so it's the same thing with Netflix. You subscribe to Netflix for the rest of your life, meaning a client for Netflix is worth, same thing, thousands of dollars over their lifetime. If you look at Apple, right, you don't just buy one iPhone, you buy the Mac, you buy the next 10 iPhones that come out, you buy the entire ecosystem. So their LTV is massive, which is why Apple is the most valuable company in the world. So the best businesses don't actually really care about client acquisition. All they focus on is client retention. And this is why, as an agency, helping clinics acquire clients wasn't a valuable skill. And it wasn't the thing that was going to help me build a $1 million business, because fundamentally, businesses that grow the most, clinics that grow the most, focus on client retention. In fact, I did some research on this too, and I looked at the fastest growing clinics in the world. There's a clinic out there called Skin Laundry, which is opening 100 locations by the end of this year. And I looked at their business model and realized they actually only sell subscriptions. They don't sell any treatments. You can't go to a Skin Laundry location and get one facial and then get out. It's like you go for a facial, but then they lock you into this subscription where every month you pay and they have you coming back forever, right? And the reason these businesses do better than any other business is because they just extract more money per client. The clinics that know how to retain their patients and had a system in place that kept patients coming back and getting treatments again and again, those were the clinics that had a higher average client LTV, meaning one client for them was worth around $3,000, whereas one client for the regular clinic was worth around $500. And that is the entire game. Because if you build a business where you have only these clients as opposed to these clients, you build a business that is literally 10 times more valuable, where you can outspend your competition 10 times more on marketing. So when you look at, and this is really contradictory with a lot of marketing advice that you see out there. You look at, for example, Charlie Morgan, no shade against him, but you look at businesses like that have this obsession over client acquisition and fucking people over with these guarantees. None of these businesses actually go anywhere. So realizing that patient retention was actually a bigger problem to solve, literally a problem that would be 10 times more valuable than client acquisition or patient acquisition, I decided, you know what, I'm going to shift my business, I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to help clinics retain their patients. Because if I can help them retain their patients and get their patients to spend at least or a couple $100 more, then that would actually grow the clinic, and they would keep using my solution over and over again if I would be integrated in a way where without my software, without my tool, they couldn't get this patient retention to work. So what I did is that I basically reverse engineered what the best clinics, the most profitable clinics, the fastest growing clinics in the world, I reverse engineered what they did, and I packaged it in a done for you solution that you could plug and play into your clinic business, and it would ultimately increase your average LTV, where your clients would spend 300% more than before. And like I said earlier, the most profitable clinics sold memberships as opposed to one-off treatments. So what this means is that for every new patient that comes into the clinic, instead of buying a treatment, they would subscribe to a membership where they would get every month free treatments or discounts to treatments. So think of this as like a gym membership. You subscribe to the gym, you can use the facility whenever you want, which actually perfectly aligned with the way skin rejuvenation works. Funny enough, when you go to, if you want to look younger, if you want to get rid of wrinkles as a clinic patient, it does make sense to come back month after month, year after year, to keep getting your facial treatments or your Botox to keep looking younger. So memberships very much make sense, and it was actually a very prominent thing in the US, but not in the UK. So this is actually why I moved to London and why I decided to go all in on this. And this is when I came up with the idea of Dermis, which basically is a tool that allows clinics to sell memberships through an app. So it's an app that they would give to the patient, right? And this is like custom branded to the clinic. The patients open the app and, they can browse different treatments and they can eventually subscribe to the clinic. So this is what it looks like. The patient can go on here and they can pay on a monthly basis, and they can see, when their next treatment is, they unlock rewards. And so this is basically like a patient retention tool that once we would give it to the clinic would immediately see higher spend, higher conversion rates, and also they would make more money as a result of not only selling memberships, but also of patients having the ability to buy a treatment from their phone whenever and wherever they want. Because when you think about how today, if you just pull up Uber Eats, you can order whatever food you want, or how you can go on the Amazon app and you can order whatever you want and it's going to come instantly. You actually can't do that with like aesthetic treatments. Like you still have to go online, find a clinic, and then go on their website, schedule an appointment. You have to like wait until Monday until the clinic is open. You have to drive over to the clinic, and it doesn't really make sense. There's just this massive need for digitalization for aesthetic clinics. So this is a product that we've just launched a couple months ago with our first client. Her name is Sarah. More content is going to be coming out around this. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I came up with this idea to launch an app for aesthetic clinics where they would have their own logo. And this also perfectly makes sense because literally who doesn't want an app that's like they don't have to pay millions of dollars in development costs just to build it? And they have their own app that sends push notifications to their clients. So this is already something that people want. On top of that, it would help their business make more money. So at this point with this idea, I decided, you know what? I'm making a lot of money from YouTube. Fuck it. So I decided to splash 20K on a no-code agency that built me an MVP. The MVP that I got from this no-code agency turned out to be really shit. In fact, for the first couple of clients, I had a couple sales calls. The client ended up implementing the app, and the app was just so buggy. It was so slow that my clients were just extremely unhappy. And at that point, I basically almost gave up. You guys, this has been such a long time in the making. I haven't really publicly talked about it because I never really felt like it was the right time because the product was shit. Like the reason this was such a long time in the making and I just kept pushing away, showing what it was all about was because the product just wasn't there and the clients weren't really happy with it, even though it was very successful. It was selling very well. People were paying a lot of money to get it, but it just wasn't delivering. So I didn't really give up because I knew that this really had potential. People were actually buying this, and this had product market fit. I mean, in the sense that there was demand for it. So from that point on, I decide to just go all in on this. So what I do is that I spend literally the next 3 months redesigning the app from scratch. So I learn UI. I try and hire the best UI designers that together we just spend 3 months, not even developing the software, just 3 months literally designing the entire software to make it as simple, as intuitive, and really make the best product possible so that when I hire new software developers, they will have no excuses. It's like you literally just have to take the designs and implement it. Like just take the instructions on screen, look at all the measurements, and build the same thing as in the designs. Because the first mistake I made is that I didn't go through this design process. So now that I understood the fundamentals of good UI and the importance of having a software that's easy to use, straight to the point, simple, doesn't have too many features, that's something that I just didn't do because I just hired the no-code agency. They built me a shitty software and I didn't even go through a design process. They just went straight into building, and I had to learn that the hard way, that wasn't the way to go. So it was around 3 months of just designing. And then after that, it was another 6 months of rebuilding the software from scratch. So we had to build the app, we had to build the backend, dashboard that would show all the sales that were generated from the app. And, as I make more videos about this, you'll be able to see what it looks like now. But it's been an additional 9 months to really get this out. I have a really solid product. We're still developing it. We're still, building the last couple of features. So we have kind of an MVP almost ready. And now it's gotten to the point where we have a good product, but I kind of don't know how to go about selling it, especially how to sell it at scale. And I don't think ads is the best way. So at this time, this is where I meet my co-founder, Joe. So you might have seen him already in a couple videos. Joe actually came to Bali, and this was very much a right place, right time moment. Because the thing about Joe is that he, just like me, had a marketing agency that served clinics, so he knew the market very well. But most importantly, he was still running his agency, and he had connections with these top clinics in the industry. So clinics that are literally like celebrity doctors, he had them as clients on a retainer, and they were literally paying him to run their Facebook ads. So when I met Joe, he basically told me, I have the connections, you have the product. And the best way to describe this is really like a scene in Breaking Bad where Walter White decides to team up with Jesse Pinkman. And it's like Walter has the meth, and he has the best meth, the blue crystal meth. He's got the bomb, and Jesse, he's got the connections. He's got the network, he's got the street cred. And basically Walter is like, I have the product, you have the connections. Let's start a drug empire. And so it was the same exact thing here. I had the product, I spent years developing it, and my co-founder had the connections that had the top of market authority, where if we could launch to these clinics, we could actually get the authority and make dermis a thing. And so basically right off the bat, even just meeting in Bali, Joe was able to ring up a few clinics and bring us deals with these massive clinics, multi-location clinics with celebrity doctors, everything that would bring us all the authority in the world, and really everything we needed to fully legitimize dermis as the software you need to retain your patients. Which brings me to today, where after 2 years of continuous trial and error, my company is now profitable. And while I can't tell you much about it, the best analogy for me to describe my current situation is this. I've spent the last 2 years looking to make the world's best pizza. And after endless attempts to try to satisfy the judges, I've just now gotten to the point where, after refining and re-engineering again and again and again, I've just now gathered the best ingredients. We have the world's best chef. We have the best ovens, the best utensils, and we now have everything in place, everything we need to finally make the world's best pizza. And now that we have the world's best pizza, I've now just opened the world's best pizza restaurant. And for that, all I have to say is this. For the next couple of months, for the next couple of years, maybe even decades, this is something that you won't want to miss. So with that said, I'll see you in the next videos.